This video is on pictograms and should help with your library animal project for Year 8. This is an example of a pictogram. This pictogram shows the number of ice creams bought on the different days during the week. The important parts of a pictogram would be the actual table itself and then also the key. The key is important because it tells us what each picture actually represents. So in this case, a star represents 10 ice creams, whereas in another picture, maybe a star might represent 1 ice cream. So the picture itself, I've chosen a star, but it can be anything that you like. And as I said, you have to include the key so that we know what the picture represents. If you were asked to interpret this pictogram, then you would need to see what the totals are for each of the days. So for Monday, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars, with each star representing 10 ice creams. So 50 ice creams were sold on Monday. On Tuesday, there are 4 stars, so 40 ice creams were sold on Tuesday. Now on Wednesday, you can see that we have 2.5 stars. That star has been cut in half. So if 1 full star represents 10 ice creams, half a star is going to represent 5 ice creams. So in this case, we have 25. Similarly for Thursday, we're going to have 45. Friday, there are 6 stars, so that was 60 ice creams. On Saturday, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.5, so 85. And on Sunday, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so 70 ice creams on Sunday. Now, what sort of questions might you get asked about this? You might be asked to get the totals, maybe to find the overall total of ice creams. So in this case, if we were asked that, the total would be 375 from adding 50, 40, 25, 45, 60, 85 and 70. You might get asked which day sold the most amount of ice creams, which would be Saturday, which day sold the least amount of ice creams, which would be Wednesday. Another question you might get asked is to try and think of reasons for this. So in other words, why was Saturday the most common day? So I can think of 2 main reasons that you would maybe say here. It might have been the hottest or the sunniest day, which would increase the sales of ice cream, and also it's at the weekend, so more people are off work and off school and therefore buying ice creams. Likewise, Wednesday might have been the lowest day because people were at work and they were at school, and also maybe Wednesday was a particularly cold day, so people didn't want to buy ice creams. Now, in your library, you're asked to do a pictogram to represent the diet of an animal. So the first thing that you need to do is find out what is the diet of an animal made up of. Now, to do that, speak to Miss Jennings, use the reference books in the library, and hopefully you should be able to find your information. I'm going to give you an example here that's actually going to be based on a human diet. Now, the human diet should roughly be 30% fruit and vegetables, 30% starchy food such as potato, rice, bread, 15% dairy products, 15% meat, fish and eggs, and 10% fat and sugar. So if I wanted to put that into a pictogram, I've gone for percentages here because I think that's what you're most likely to be using in your library project. So if I wanted to put that into a pictogram, I would first of all have to work out what my key was going to be. Now, whatever shape you use is up to you. That is completely your call. There's no difference, there's no advantage, there's no disadvantage to using certain shapes. The only thing that you need to watch out for is that if you want your shape to be able to be cut in half, so for instance on my previous slide, a star represented 10, but sometimes I had to show 5, so I had to cut the star in half, then obviously pick a shape that it is easy to do that, and pick one that is reasonably easy to draw. So in this instance, I'm going to make my circle, which is the shape I'm choosing, I'm going to make that equal to 5%. So a circle equals 5%. And what I'm going to do then is now start to fill in my pictogram. So fruit and vegetables was 30%. Now 30%, that means that if each circle is worth 5%, then I need 6 circles. Okay, for starchy foods, again, that's 30%, so again, I'm going to need 6 circles. Dairy products is 15%, so if each circle is worth 5%, I'm going to need 3 circles this time. Meat, fish and eggs, again, is 15%, so I need another 3 circles. And finally, fat and sugar is 10%, so I'm going to need 2 circles. Okay, so that's it really. That is my pictogram done for an example of the human diet. The important thing, remember, is that I've included my key so that you can actually read it and you understand what the circles mean. So for your library project, you're going to be doing this based on an animal diet. Now, how that's going to look very much depends on the animal you choose. It may be that you're going to look at how much meat they eat versus how much plants they eat. It might be that you're going to look at how much grass versus vegetables versus different plants. You know, it just depends on the animal and the information that you can find. But if you can get it in terms of a percentage, then you can do a pictogram in the same sort of way that I've done mine, where maybe a picture represents 5% or 10% or whatever makes the most sense for you. If you do have any questions about getting your pictogram done, speak to me or speak to your maths teacher, and we'll be able to give you a bit of a hand with how you go about that, or else check it for you.